3 shows only this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at the Civic Center Music Hall with these guys. It's the Illusionists, and I'm looking forward to this interview because these guys are cracking me up and we haven't even started. It's Andrew Basso, I think it's Basso, right?
Correct.
All right, and Kevin James. These guys are among the Illusionists who will be on stage, and according to this graphic, there's about 7 of you guys, right?
Exactly 7 of us.
Now, Kevin, we'll start with you, the inventor. Why the inventor? What is your role in this?
You know, when the producer first found us 3 years ago, he said, imagine if you were a superhero, what would your magic superpower be?
And what did you say?
Well, I invent everything for my own act, but I've invented a lot of things for other people's acts as well. And
those are big name acts, Doug Henning, David Copperfield.
Yeah, Chris Angel, Penn and Teller, Lance Burton. So.
Now, what sort of things would you invent for them?
Well, they were things that I've created. I don't really choose somebody and go, oh, I'm going to invent something for Copperfield. I just come up with something and then they go, oh, you know, can I use that in my show? They go, sure. So we selected monikers that kind of fit our specialty. So I'm the inventor. It's a nice big playground to play in, and Andrew's the escapologist, and we have the anti-conjurer, who is Dan Sperry, and if you can imagine Marilyn Manson and David Copperfield having a baby, it would be Dan Sperry. He does
How many people have thought about that? I'm not sure.
And then there's the trickster. There's what's Ben's moniker?
He's the weapon master.
The weapon master. Yeah, he's a new character in our show, and Yuho Jin is the manipulator. He's the current reigning world champion for sleight of hand with cards, manipulation. And so we're a global show. We've got people. Oh, and from London, Jonathan
Goodwin.
That guy from London.
The Daredevil. Yes. So we all chose, characters that were very close to our specialty, and we're all kind of at the top of our game with our own style. So instead of seeing one magician for 2 hours, you're seeing a big smorgasbord of great talent.
Yeah, with something they can identify with from the whole superhero,
We looked like the Avengers on the poster.
Very, very sexy looking poster as well. Did you say escapologist? Now I would have given it the Oklahoma term, escapologist or something like this, but escapologist.
I think he says
nice.
it that way too, yeah.
Andrew, thanks for joining us this morning. Thanks to both of you guys. I know you came into town just yesterday here for the week. This tour is just getting started. Escape artist, how did you get started as an escape artist?
Well, when you get inspired by Houdini, instead of going into illusions or magic, you go into the dangerous stuff, the things that gives you adrenaline in doing it. So for me, it was very inspiring when I was 14, the fact that he could do such amazing feats where his body skills were involved and the danger was involved. So I started practicing, asking my father, my friends to tie me up in my living room.
Just to see if you could get free?
Yes.
Now Houdini, you're not kidding, speaking of adrenaline, I mean, he would be suspended in boxes or submerged in water. That was appealing to you. You're like, hey, I want to do that.
Yes, yes, because in that age, the more dangerous the stuff it was, the more the people were saying to me, "Don't do it." I was more intrigued by it.
Well, yeah, especially if they're a good friend. Don't do that.
Yeah, of course. So, and actually, people pay the tickets to see this kind of stuff because there are not many escape artists in the world, and doing dangerous stuff even less. So.
I'm reading this: explosive, water boxes, handcuffs, chains, padlocks, straight jackets, cars bursting into flames. What?
Yes, we don't do all that stuff in the show.
But you have done this stuff.
We do a death-defying act in the show where I'm lowered into a tank of water, of 200 gallons of cold water, handcuffed, upside down, the famous Houdini water torture cell. But for the first time in history, I presented with no covers. So the people for the first time will have the chance to see how I escape, how I need to hold my breath for 3 or 4 minutes to escape.
So you're on stage and you explain that to people. So give us the quick version. How do you do that?
How I do that? Well,
I know you can't reveal all the tricks here, but
well, as any illusionist in the team, we all spend our own life in practicing and learning our skills. So the same was for me in practicing holding my breath, mind control, lock picking abilities.
which, by the way, seems like a good skill to have. I've locked myself out of my apartment a few times. And
It helps.
Only if I knew how to break into my own place. Kevin, how did you get started into this?
You know, I think most kids fall in love with magic at some point in their life, but most of them grow out of it, and I just was one of the lucky ones to never grow out of it. And the magic bug bit me really hard when I was young, and I just knew from that moment on that there was nothing else I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I feel very blessed that I was so focused, and I went to college, and 3 years into college, my friends, they had no idea what they were going to do with their lives, you know, and I just knew, well, I got to take theater, and I've got to take, everything that will help the magic career. So,
the skill set into
yeah.
entertaining, because you are developing the other skill set of illusion,
Sure.
magic, and stuff like that. Andrew mentioned Houdini as being one of his role models. Who were some of your role models?
You know, Doug Henning was bursting onto the scene when I was in high school, and he kind of sealed the deal for me. He just brought this beautiful sense of wonder, and he really put magic back on the map in the 70s, and brought it back to public consciousness. It kind of, the golden age of magic was in the 20s and 30s, and then it kind of took a big long nap. And then in the 70s, Doug Henning brought it back into the public view with a beautiful TV special every year that, you know, we totally look forward to, and replayed the videos over and over. And it's he just created this character that had this. He was very impish, you know. It was just like this beautiful sense of wonder, and he was all about creating wonder and beautiful, light.
Kevin, what's your favorite trick? What's your favorite illusion?
Well, there's a guy in Las Vegas named Teller who does a beautiful thing with a rose in a vase and a light, and he's got a white screen behind it, and he comes out. There's no music, so it's very quiet. You can hear the audience rustling a little bit, and he comes out with this very large knife, kind of a menacing knife, and he looks at the shadow that the rose is casting on the white screen, and he very slowly cuts the shadow of one of the leaves sticking off the stem. And when he does, it falls off, because the real, kind of symmetrical, the leaf on the real flower falls off when he cuts the shadow. And then you hear the audience kind of titter a little bit, and then he goes around to the other side of the shadow, and then he cuts the other leaf off, and the real one falls off. Then he takes the knife and he sticks it into the shadow of the bud and just kind of turns it like that, and you see the real flower just kind of turn, and the petals start to fall off until it's just a stem. And so the magic is it's about the symmetry of cutting the shadow and what happens in real life. It's just a beautiful thing, and you can totally hear the audience react.
The audience is like, how did he do
well,
that?
And
How
there's nervous laughter. It's beautiful. And so then he touches the knife, and he sticks his finger, and he just holds his hand up in the air and creates a shadow of his hand on the white screen, and you see a stream of blood go down the screen. You don't know it's blood because it's dark. You can't really tell what it is, but something dark is coming down from that same finger that he nicked. And then he slowly brings his hand to the screen and smears the blood. Now you get this big streak of red across the screen, and then it goes black. Just a total blackout. It's so dramatic and beautiful, and you hear the audience just erupt.
Good presentation.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's a masterpiece. I wish I would have thought of it.
Oh, very nice. Andrew, what's your, you mentioned Houdini was the guy that you really looked at, but what's your favorite illusion? What's your favorite trick?
Well, what Kevin just said is in my list of the top things. Well, actually, I'm working on stage with the people I was admiring since my very beginning in magic. So
Makes us feel old.
I mean, one of the favorite pieces I wish I could invent it is Kevin's piece, where actually he brings the classic of a woman sawing half, but in a way that nobody has ever done it in the history. So he cuts a guy in half on stage with a chainsaw. The two body parts got separated, and then he put it together with no boxes, no covers, like real live.
With a staple gun.
With a staple gun.
Of course.
Yeah, you need that. So that one piece, but anything that brings adrenaline. I mean, I love what I do. Like the water cell, for me, it's a favorite because in that moment I feel to bring the Houdini spirit on stage again, and the kind of performances that people had no chances to see very often.
Are there any tricks out there that you guys wish you could make your own? Is it hard to do that? Are there any tricks out there that haven't been done? Or is this something that can constantly be reinvented?
Well, I think we all want to have original material and create something by our own that people would say, hey, this guy is the guy who invented that thing. I think also it's a little bit like in music. It's difficult to invent new notes, but you can find a new way to put it, you know.
Good way of saying that.
Yeah, so, yeah.
I'm always trying to think of new material. You know,
you are the inventor, after all.
We're doing lots of TV, and it's kind of burning a lot of our material. So we have to always. I've got 10 things in the pipeline at any given moment, in various stages of development. So sometimes they come quickly. Sometimes they don't come quickly. Sometimes they have to simmer for a few years to really get them right. And the whole process of creating a magic effect is like one of the most satisfying processes for me. It's like having a baby. You're creating something that started out as a little scribble on a napkin, and then it gets to the cardboard stage where you're like cutting things out of cardboard and taping it together to see if, you know, the things are going to work correctly, and maybe there's 3 different methods and you have to try each one and see, you know, which things are going to work better than others, and then finally you choose a method, and then it gets to the wood and the metal stage, and you paint it, and then you rehearse it, and then when you're finally getting applause for something that started as a little notion on a napkin, that's when you have the baby. And it's just so, it's like this belongs to you now. I mean, you have to take care of it and nurture it, and it continues to grow for years. I mean, it's a never-ending process. You're always trying to make it better and to hone it and to, you know. So, you know, there are, you know, I do this thing with a paper flower where it levitates in the middle of the audience with a little girl standing next to me, and it changes to a real flower. And you know, I did it the same way for like 20 years, and then all of a sudden somebody said, well, why don't you do it this way? And it just completely changed the whole vibe. And so you know, you get 95%, and then that little 5% may come 20 years later. And then
the trick is new again.
Well, it changes it, and it improves it. And so it's a never-ending process. It's a very joyful process. And honestly, I could do that the rest of my life and be very happy.
The tour is underway. It's the Illusionists, the Civic Center Music Hall, Tuesday through Thursday. Tickets start at $25. There are a few still available. CelebrityAttractions.com is where you need to go for that. Go see these guys. He's Kevin James. He's Andrew Basso. Fellas, it was great to meet you. I enjoyed the conversation today. Best of luck this week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you there.
Appreciate it.